Hello everybody and welcome to another video. Today we will be doing the King's Indian defense, or the King's Indian setup, whatever you want to call it. And so, first of all, the King's Indian setup or defense, really simple to learn, anybody can play it, and it's usually very solid. So usually with white, it would start with knight f3. And then what you're going to do is you're going to try and fianchetto your bishop and castle. And then you're going to play this anti-e4 move. So say if a pawn moved here, you would play d6 to prevent this from happening. And then you just try to develop normally, get your pieces out, and then start, and then counterattack in the middle. So if we went here, say this would happen. You played this g3 move so you can fianchetto the bishop. I'm just playing normal moves here. And then you castle. This would be kind of what the King's Indian setup would be. Right here. This would be kind of the King's Indian setup. Now, it's more played with black. You can play it with white. And usually that would be what you pretty much get. So this would be pretty much what it would be. I have to set up the board again. Yay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm setting up the board again. So, usually the King's Indian defense is played with black. Now, there are a few things you need to know with black. So first, if they play e4, you're going to see e4 so many times. Like, at the level I play at, nobody plays d4. So, when you see e4, the way to get the King's Indian setup is by playing d6 first. It's called the Peerage defense. It's the same thing as the King's Indian defense, except it's a transposition, and you normally get a bit of a different position than the King's Indian. But yeah. So, but so you have to play d6. I'm going to say this right now. You have to play d6 because if you play knight f6, not there, knight f6, then they play e5, and you're in something called the Alekhines defense, and it's just not what you want to play because then you play this, and then they just chase you around the board. And then they just chase you around the board, and you have to go here or something. You have to go here, and then you go here. It's so bad. You do not want to play the Alekhines defense. You are going to get chased around like a monkey. And so don't play the Alekhines defense. Now the King's Indian defense usually starts after d4. Then you play knight f6, and after c4, you play g6. And then normally they would play knight c3, you would fianchetto the bishop, they would play e4, you play d6 whenever you see e4. Whenever you see e4, play d6. It prevents them from coming to e4. I mean e5. Now you might be wondering, but Gavin, why don't they play e5 here? They have another pawn supporting it. But this is why, because after takes, you take the queen. And after takes, you move the knight here and counterattack this pawn. And this position is losing for white. If you might not believe it, but this position is losing for white. So that is why they do not play e5. And if they do play e5, now you know what to do. Okay. So again, d6, and here there's a couple of things they can play. They can play pawn f3, knight f3, pawn f4, or they can play something else. Here, like I said a few moves back, about here. What if they play knight c3, Gavin? I mean, what if they play knight f3, Gavin? What if they play knight f3? This is called the fianchetto system. It is the same thing as your King's Indian defense. They're going to fianchetto your bishop and castle. And basically what you just need to know is that you just try to break their setup with the H pawn. And so if they take, they have a ruined pawn structure. So what they would normally do if you play h4 is that they'd play h5 and stop that. So that is what you do with the fianchetto system. That is all you really need to know. So normally it would continue with knight c3, bishop to g7, e3, d6, and then the classical system is knight c3 here. And then you just castle, they all play bishop e2, you will push in the middle with e5, counterattacking the middle, they will ignore, and they will castle, and then you will play knight c3, they will kick you out, you just play knight e7, then they will play, what did they do? Alright, they play knight e1, you play knight e8, and then they play bishop e3, and then you play f5, they will play f3, and then you play f5, f4, kicking out the bishop, they will go here, then you play g4, supporting the pawn, and that is the classical system with the with black. So what you will do here is you will create a kingside attack. You will play h3, or even h4 straight away. It depends on the position. Then you will play g4 and try to undermine these pawns. And you will also bring these knights over here. You will bring the bishop here. Rook lift in some positions. Get the queen maybe out here. Get the bishop in the attack. It is going to be very brutal for white. And what white's going to do is they are going to play knight d3, and they are either going to put this pawn here, they are going to push and try to create an attack on the queen side. You queen here, rook lift, or they could even put the knight here, put the bishop somewhere on, put the bishop here. Sorry, not there. So what they will do is after knight d3, they will either start into queenside attack, or they will put this bishop back on e1, and they will reroute the knight here and put the bishop back here to have a better diagonal on it, and reroute this horse to the kingside to help prevent any kingside attack. So that is the God, I am losing my tongue today. So that is the classical system with the King's Indian defense. Pretty solid. So back to the normal position here. Okay. So again, d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, e4, d6. If they play f3, this is called the Samish variation, and this is very, very, very tricky for black. So what you will do is castle, and then they will probably develop the knight. Put the bishop here, develop the knight, and then put this bishop here. So what you are going to do is after castling, you are going to play knight a6, c5, knight to c7, rerouting the knight, and then you will play a6, put the rook here, put the bishop there, and then push b5. And you are going to start a queenside attack. This is why the King's Indian defense is very flexible, because you can start a kingside attack, and you can also start a queenside attack. Very flexible defense, and I highly recommend it to any lower rated player. Very easy system to learn, nothing that complicated. That is pretty much all you need to know. They can also play something called the 4 pawns attack. All you really need to know against the 4 pawns is that you just need to attack. You just need to chip away at these pawns. You just need to chip away at these pawns, push e5, push c5, do whatever you have to chip away at those pawns. If you take control of the center in this position, you are going to win. And that is pretty much it. So that is the King's Indian defense. Just remember this important d6 anti-e5 move. You're going to put the knight here, fianchetto the bishop, castle short side, and either start an attack on the king side or the queen side. And that is it for this video. I will see you in the next one, which I believe will be on some other defense, or even the Queen's Gambit, I don't know. I will keep up with the streams, and I will come up with another video very soon. See you guys later, and goodbye.